we could just get to a place and to a point to where we say, okay, God, I trust you. I trust your vision for my life, then we will be so much better off. Friends, I'm talking about vision. I'm talking about vision. All right, we are in our series entitled Vision. We started it on yesterday. We're picking it up here on today. And what I understand and know to be true is this, that, well, let me take you to the Word of God. Proverbs 29, verse 18. It tells us, it says, and I'm going to read it. I know I read it yesterday, but maybe somebody wasn't with us on yesterday. And so you need some help or a refresher or whatever the case may be. So let me help you with that. Psalms 29:18. I'm going to read it first in the New King James. Then I'm going to switch and read it again in the Amplified version. When you read it in the New King James Version, it says this. It says, where there is no revelation, the people cast off restraint. But happy is he who keeps the law. Okay? That's the New King James Version. The Amplified Bible reads it this way. It says, where there is no vision, no revelation of God and his word, the people are unrestrained, but happy and blessed is he who keeps the law of God. Friends, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you, right? To get a godly vision for your life. I shared with you on yesterday that vision, right? Vision comes from God, and that if you ever find yourself in a place where you say, all right, I want to do XYZ for God. I want to, make this happen, whatever the case may be. You've got to get a godly vision. It's great to have a plan and an idea for what you want to do with your life. But have you ever heard the saying, it's not biblical, but have you ever heard the saying that if you want to make God laugh, then tell him your plans? It's something along those lines, right? It's great that you have your own vision for your life and you say, oh man, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want this to happen, blah, blah. But is that God's vision for your life? It's just like, there are parents who develop a vision for their child's life, right? And as they are developing or putting together the vision for their child's life, then what happens is they start trying to groom and prepare that child to go in that direction. But that child has their own life. That child, has their own path. And what a parent may think is not necessarily the way that child ends up going. It's the same thing with God, right? We have our own thoughts, visions, ideas of how our lives ought to go. And God's like, no. It's like, here's maybe a better example. Well, let me finish my first example. There's a show that I like. That I've been watching entitled Bob Hart's Abishola, right? And Bob is irrelevant to what we're talking about, but there's the other main character, Abishola. Now, Abishola has a son, she has a son, Dele, right? And Abishola is Nigerian, and, she is raising her son under Nigerian traditions and values and all that. And she has son since he was a baby, since he was born, that you are going to be a doctor, right? You're going to be a doctor. And so she has been grooming him and excuse me, grooming him and pushing him toward being a doctor. And one day, you know, because Abishola is a nurse studying to become a doctor herself. And so one day she brings him to work with her, brings him up on the observation deck where, you know, prospective doctors and other doctors and nurses can so often go and watch certain surgeries that are happening, you know, especially if you're in a teaching hospital or something. I've come to possibly understand that that's something that is allowable, right? Okay. So she brings her son, and he's watching a fairly simple, it seems to be, procedure. And as he's watching this procedure, he starts to get a little dizzy. He starts to get a little lightheaded, and he has to sit down for a second. And his mom's like, "Boy, are you okay?" And you know, he finally says, "Yes, mommy, I'm fine." So he stands up. He looks, and he can't take it no more. Right now, right there, all of a sudden, he just, you know, everything that he had for lunch or breakfast or whatever just comes up right there, all over the floor in the observation deck. She had plans for his life, but when he saw what was happening there, they both realized that's not for him. He can't even deal with the sight of blood. That's not for him, right? And many of us are just like that. Just like that. We have plans for our own lives. We think we know what's best. Oh yeah. And God's like, no, no, no. No, 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 no. You can go ahead and try that. Try that. That's nice. That's cute, right? But I've got something else in store. It's like if I went to the store and I bought a toaster, or yeah, I bought a toaster, and I get the toaster home, and the toaster says I've tried to put my bread in it, and the toaster says no, I don't want to toast. I want to refrigerate. See, that's outside of the intent of how the creator or manufacturer made it, right? And so many times I'm trying to correct some things, right? Because see, so many times we have these thoughts, these visions, these plans, but we have to understand we think that we are living our lives for ourselves. We think that this life is about us. No, 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 no. This life is not about you. It's not about you. The things that you go through, they're not about you. You say, well, if it's not about me, then what is it about? If it's not for me, then what is it for? Right? I want you to know you were made in God's image. You were created to give God glory. You were created, right? Yes, you were created. Like, let's go back to the very beginning. To the very beginning. God said, I think I will create a world. I think I'll create, right? Something, a world, a universe, let's do this. Let's do this. Let there be light, right? The light then began to shine in what was utter nothingness, right? All of a sudden, bang, right? Science likes to call it a big bang, and I do too. The big bang is God speaking. Let there be. There was, right? Then he began to say, all right, let there be, you know, this and that. And then and as he began to speak, things began to form and begin to happen and to be set in motion. He created this earth, right? And in order for it to be properly sustained, he made sure, all right, I've created this light, but I recognize that if it's too close to the light, it'll burn up. If it's too far from the light, it'll be too cold. Mind you, God is God, and God could have said, I'll create people or somebody on every world, somebody who can withstand the heat of being close to the sun, somebody who can withstand the coldness of being that far away from the sun. If he wanted to, he could have put somebody or some organism living on every planet. But to show his, and this is the way I see it, to show his perfection, to show his in-depth genius of thought, he said, no, I'm gonna take this third little planet. That's perfect. Yeah, because the number of three is the number of completion for me. That's gonna be my number. That's gonna be my, on Earth they'll call it a lucky number, but it's really my number of completion. That's yeah. So it'll be the third one from the sun, and it'll be right in the perfect balance. Now, again, he could have made the sun hotter, you know, to where the fourth one would have been in balance. The fifth, any one of them, right, would have been the perfect balance from the how big and bright he could have made the sun. But he said, this is, I'm showing you God's vision. So if God has enough vision, God has enough foresight to say, all right, let there be, and it still is. If God has enough vision, right, enough foresight to say it'll be the third planet from the sun, and it'll have a brighter day in the day, a brighter light rather in the day, and a lesser light in the night. And I'm going to separate the waters from the land, and I'm going to, the waters in the sky from the waters on the earth. I'm going to separate all of that. If he had enough vision and foresight for that, then why don't you trust God's vision for your life? Why do you fight against every turn, against every place, against everything that God is trying to do and bring into your life? It amazes me in my own life the number of times that I thought I knew better than God. It amazes me in my own life. I think about a certain situation in particular where I just knew, no, Lord, no. That's not who I want for my wife. That's not what I want out of a wife. I want this. God said, no, you don't. I said, yes, I do. You know, it amazes me how much time I spent in my life. See, I can't talk about you and your life. I can only talk about me. But it amazes me how much time I spent just as to Saul on the Damascus Road. I spent kicking against the prick, right? God said, no, James, that's not what I want for you. That's not what I have for you. When I go back and I think about when I was in college and I was away from home at Alcorn State University, and I said, listen, I done got away from home. I done got away from all these people who know me as a little preacher, who've known that I've been preaching since I was 8 years old. Now I'm in school. Now I'm in college. And nobody here knows that I'm a preacher. Nobody knows I've been preaching since I was 8. Nobody knows these things, right? I'm free. I can do my own thing. And then I get to the campus, and the coach who recruited me was also a preacher, an elder in his church, and had told the whole team, I got a little reverend coming. I got a little reverend coming. And my nickname, right, had already been set for me. I get on campus and I say, hey, my name is James. No, it ain't. That's what they told me. No. We already got a James on the team. You're Rev. I was like, oh, yeah. Coach told us that you were preaching, man. I said, you've been preaching, huh? Yeah, man, that's what's up, man. Hey, and that was it. Nobody on campus called me by my name. To this day, I talk with some of my teammates, some of my were my roommates, and all of that, and they still call me Rev to this day, right? Listen. We have to, and this is how I'm closing. Today is, we've moved out of our intro, and now we're starting to go a little further. But I've got to get you to a place of understanding before we go any further, of understanding God's plan. His plan is perfect. His plan, right? Oh yeah. It is right for you. It is right for you. It's right for me. His plans will never fail you. His plans will never lead you astray. Yeah, it's gonna be some hard times, some tribulations, right? Um, let me recall the scripture. What is it? I want to say First John. First John. I'm pulling it up because I think I want to make sure I read it properly. But anyhow, I don't know if I have it here, the proper one. But either way, he tells us. He says that after you have suffered a while, right? After you've suffered a while, then the God of all, like then God will perfect you. He will establish you, right? He'll set you up right where you need to be. He'll do what it is that he said that he would do for you after you've suffered a while. And I need you to know, I need you to know that God has not forgotten about you. I need you to know that God cares so very much for you. So therefore, he has set vision, right? He has set vision. He has set plans in place for you. Look at what he told Jeremiah. We all know Jeremiah 29, right? And look at what he told Jeremiah. This is again Jeremiah 29 and 11. For I know the thoughts that I think towards you. Another translation says, for I know the plans, right? You can also say, for I know the vision that I have for you, right? It is a vision of peace and not evil, to give you hope and a future, right? To give you a future and a hope. Why does he tell us that? Because sometimes when you're going through, you start to think that God doesn't care. You start to think that the vision of God, he didn't forgot about me. But can I tell you, and I'm going to close with this because I've got a minute and 8 seconds left. Can I tell you that the plans and the visions of God, they don't always feel good. Sometimes the plans and the visions of God, it's just, they're hard. If you don't believe me, ask Jesus, who from the very time he is mentioned It was understood by God that what the plan was. I'm sending my son as a perfect sacrifice. He knew. He knew. I'm sending myself in the form of my son, Jesus, to be the perfect sacrifice. He's going to take the sins of the world and be crucified for them, even though he knows no sin, even though he committed no sin. And yet and still, Jesus, even knowing this, when it came down to it, had a moment where he said, Lord, if there's any other way, Lord, if there is a way that this cup could pass, let it please, let this cup pass from me. Let it pass. But nevertheless, not my will, your will be done. If Jesus understood and went through and knew that yes, the plans of God, they are perfect, but even perfection sometimes hurt. Even perfection sometimes causes pain. If Jesus understood, what makes you think? If Jesus had to go through, what makes you think that the plans of God for your life will keep you from ever having to go through? All right. I want to play this song for you just to kind of close this out because, see, again, as we go deeper into vision, I'm trying to help somebody to understand that vision is going to cause you some pain. You know, whoever told you that when you go through, when you get God's plan and everything gonna be, no. For we know that all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. Here is Reverend James Cleveland with No Cross, No Crown, right here on I Am